Welcome to this deep dive. And today we're tackling something I think a lot of us have struggled with, and that's grammar,
Oh, yeah.
especially when it comes to learning a new language,
Absolutely.
right? Like, I mean, haven't we all had that moment, where we're trying to order a coffee in a new country or ask for directions
Oh, yeah.
and we just freeze up,
Totally.
like worried about messing up all the grammar and sounding
Yep,
silly?
for worse.
Right.
You just want to blend in and
Exactly.
not make a fool of yourself.
Exactly. So today we're diving deep into this whole grammar and fluency thing, using grammar and English fluency, communication over perfection as our guide.
Love that title.
Yeah, right.
Communication over perfection.
That's what we're going for. And,
Yeah.
we're going to explore this big question. Is perfect grammar really the key to fluency, or is there something more to it?
Yeah. Is it really the be-all and end-all?
You know what? I think you're right. It's probably not the be-all and end-all. There's got to be more to it.
I think so.
So get ready for some serious myth-busting today, because we're about to uncover some pretty surprising insights, I think, from this text. And we've got some practical tips for you, too,
Oh, absolutely.
on how to actually improve your fluency without getting bogged down in the grammar rules,
Yeah, I think so many people get stuck in that grammar trap.
Yes, and they think that that's the only way
It's the only way.
to become fluent. And it's
Mm-hmm.
so not true.
So not true. And the text actually addresses that right away.
Or does it?
Right from the beginning, it challenges that assumption.
So wait, it's actually saying that grammar doesn't equal fluency.
Straight up says it.
I bet some people listening are like, yes, finally, someone said it.
I know, right?
Because I think we all know deep down that there's more to it than just, memorizing a bunch of rules.
Right. You can know all the rules in the world,
You can.
but if you can't put them into practice,
Yeah, if you can't actually speak.
it doesn't really matter.
Right. And the text actually does a really great job, I think, of highlighting this difference by introducing us to two learners,
Okay.
Carlos
All right.
and Anna.
Love it.
And Carlos is like obsessed with getting the grammar perfect.
Oh, Carlos.
Yeah, he's like that guy with the, the stack of grammar books,
Highlighter.
highlighter, underlining everything.
Oh, yeah. All the colors.
Every single rule
Yep.
memorized. And then we've got Anna,
Okay.
who's not afraid to make mistakes.
She's out there
She's just talking, she's speaking.
living life.
Right. And I'm imagining her, maybe making a few grammar slip-ups here and there.
Maybe.
But she's actually using the language.
She's getting her point across.
Exactly. She's connecting with people. So
Yeah.
is that kind of what the text is getting at with these two examples?
Exactly. It's like this visual representation of
Yeah.
two different approaches. And what it really wants us to take away from it is that while Carlos might be dramatically accurate,
Right. He might be technically correct.
it might be technically correct, Anna's the one who's actually fluent.
She's the one who's out there speaking and understanding
She can communicate.
and connecting with people.
Yeah.
So does that mean we should just like chuck all the grammar books out the window and just embrace the chaos?
I was going to say, is grammar useless?
Right.
Should we all just forget it?
Is that what the text is saying?
Well, not quite.
Well,
It doesn't go that far.
Right.
It actually makes this really interesting comparison. It says that grammar is like a roadmap.
Yeah,
The roadmap, so you need it for guidance,
I can see that.
but you don't need to memorize every single street and intersection.
Right. Every little detail
Every little detail before you start driving.
before you even get in the car.
Exactly.
Okay, that's a good point.
Yeah.
So it's like, I'm thinking about those times I've used a GPS,
Yeah.
and I get so focused on following every single instruction perfectly
Oh, yeah.
that I miss the scenery.
Yes.
Or I take a less interesting route,
Yeah. That's a good point.
And maybe it's kind of the same with language. Sometimes we need to loosen our grip on those rules a little bit and just enjoy the ride,
I love that analogy.
Just have a conversation.
Enjoy the ride.
Yeah.
Let loose a little bit.
And it makes me think that the text is saying grammar should support our communication,
Yes.
not stifle it.
It should help us, not hinder us.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So, but it's not saying the grammar is completely useless.
No,
Right?
not at all.
Like there are times when it's important
Absolutely.
to have good grammar.
It acknowledges that it's important for clarity, especially in written communication.
For sure.
Like if you're writing an important email or something.
An essay.
An essay.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Or anything.
I want to make sure that you're being clear
Absolutely.
and accurate.
Yeah.
So it's helpful to have at least a basic understanding of the rules.
For sure.
But it sounds like the real emphasis is on finding that balance
Not that bad, is it?
between accuracy and fluency.
So we've kind of established that perfect grammar isn't like the holy grail of fluency.
It's not the end-all be-all.
Right. But what about native speakers?
Okay.
Like, do they always speak perfectly grammatically?
Ooh, that's a good question.
I have a feeling they don't.
I think you're right to be suspicious.
I think I am.
Yeah.
So,
This is where the text gets really interesting.
okay, tell me more.
It points out that native speakers break grammar rules all the time,
What?
especially in casual conversation.
No way.
All the time.
Give me some examples of these, like, grammar crimes.
Okay, well, for example, you might hear a native speaker say something like, going to the store,
Instead
instead of, are you going to the store?
Yeah,
So they've dropped a word.
they have.
They've simplified the sentence.
Right.
But it still gets the meaning across.
It does, and it sounds more natural.
It does. It
It's-
sounds more natural.
So even native speakers are taking those shortcuts.
All the...
All the time.
Right.
Wow. It makes you wonder if all those grammar rules that we stress over are really as set in stone as they seem.
Right. Like maybe we need to loosen up a little.
Maybe do.
Yeah.
So what else does the text say about how native speakers kind of bend the rules?
Well, it also mentions that native speakers sometimes mix up verb tenses.
Okay.
For example, you might hear someone say, I seen that movie,
Oh, yeah.
instead of I have seen that movie.
I've definitely heard people say that.
It's technically grammatically incorrect,
Okay.
but it's such a common occurrence in spoken English.
So it's almost like fluency is about more than just following those rules perfectly.
Yeah.
It's about being able to communicate naturally and effectively.
Naturally and effectively.
Even if that means, bending the grammar a little bit
I think you're right.
All
It's
right.
about getting your point across.
and connecting with people.
Exactly.
And that brings us to a really important question. If native speakers don't always follow the rules, then why should language learners be so worried about them?
Right, like if they're not getting it perfect all the time.
Right. Maybe we're putting too much pressure on ourselves
Maybe we are.
to be absolutely perfect when maybe we should be focusing on something else.
Yeah, maybe there's something else we should be focusing on.
I wonder what that could be. So if we're not supposed to be like, stressing out about perfect grammar,
Yeah.
how do we actually learn it in a way that's helpful, not like a hindrance?
Right.
Like, I'm guessing that's what everyone listening is thinking right now.
Yeah, for sure. And the text actually gives us some practical advice.
Okay.
Instead of just like memorizing rules in isolation,
Yeah.
like just rote memorization,
Right.
it encourages us to think about learning grammar in context.
Okay. In context.
Yeah, like we do with so many other things in life, right?
Right. Yeah.
Like think about how kids learn their first language.
Yeah.
They don't start with textbooks and grammar drills.
No, they don't.
They pick it up from hearing it spoken all around them.
Right. From their environment.
From their environment, exactly.
Yeah. Just by being immersed in it.
Exactly. And the text suggests that we can do something similar
Okay.
by immersing ourselves in the language, through movies, books, podcasts, even just eavesdropping on conversations.
Oh, that's a good idea. Eavesdropping.
Yeah, just like absorbing it.
Okay. So it's about like absorbing the patterns and structures naturally, almost subconsciously,
Subconsciously, yeah.
rather than trying to force feed ourselves rules.
Exactly. Like let it happen naturally.
Okay. I like that approach. But how does that actually translate to learning specific grammar points?
Okay, well, the text gives some great examples.
Okay.
Let's say you're trying to master the past tense.
Okay. Common one.
Yeah, so instead of just drilling verb conjugations.
Right. Just memorizing those charts.
Yeah, exactly. You could watch a TV show and pay attention to how characters talk about past events.
Okay.
You'll start to pick up on the different ways the past tense is used.
Oh, that's a good idea.
And it'll feel so much more natural.
Yeah. You're seeing it in action.
You're seeing it in action, exactly.
Actually, you're hearing it in real conversations.
Your real conversations, yeah.
Okay. Any other examples?
Absolutely. Maybe you're struggling with conditional sentences.
Oh, those if-then constructions.
Exactly. If then, those are the ones.
Yeah, those can be tricky.
They can be. So the text suggests listening to podcasts and noticing how native speakers use them in real life situations.
Okay.
And you'll start to get a feel for the nuances of how they're used.
So instead of just trying to memorize the formula,
This formula, yeah.
you're actually hearing it in practice.
Exactly. You're hearing it in practice.
And then you can start to use it yourself.
Exactly. And it becomes much easier.
Okay. I'm starting to see how powerful this, learning in context approach can be.
It's amazing.
But with so many grammar rules out there,
I know, right?
where do we even begin?
Right.
I'm guessing diving into the subjunctive mood on day one isn't the best strategy.
No, probably not the best place to start.
Probably not. So what are those foundational grammar elements that should be our top priority?
Okay, so first and foremost, make sure you've got a solid grasp of basic word order.
Okay.
You know that subject-verb-object structure
Right.
that forms the backbone of most English sentences?
It's like the skeleton,
It is the skeleton,
the framework.
the framework, exactly. And it's so much more important to be able to say, like, I like pizza correctly
Okay.
than to construct some convoluted sentence with multiple clauses, but get the word order wrong.
So start with the simple stuff.
Start with the simple stuff.
Get the basics down.
Get the basics down, yeah.
What else?
Okay, next up, you'll want to make sure you're comfortable with the past, present, and future tenses.
Okay.
These are like the workhorses of everyday conversation.
Yeah, you're going to be using those all the time.
All the time.
Right.
And you'll need them to talk about pretty much anything.
Makes sense.
So don't sweat the more complex tenses like the past, perfect, continuous, until you've got these down pat.
Okay, basic word order, common tenses. Got it. Anything else we should add to our must-master grammar list?
Prepositions.
Oh, yes, prepositions.
Those little words like in, on, at,
Two, they're sneaky.
they are sneaky.
They can really trip you up.
They can trip you up and they might seem insignificant,
Right.
but they can make a huge difference in meaning.
Yeah, I've definitely had those moments where I've used the wrong preposition and ended up saying something totally different from what I meant.
Oh yeah, it happens to the best of us.
Not ideal. So we've talked about learning in context, prioritizing the essentials. What other wisdom does the text offer on the grammar front?
Well, it has a piece of advice that might sound kind of counterintuitive at first.
Okay.
It encourages us to speak first, correct later.
Wait, so the text is saying we shouldn't worry too much about making mistakes.
It's not about ignoring mistakes completely,
Yep.
but rather shifting our focus from perfection to practice.
Okay, I see.
Because the text explains that our brains are incredibly good at picking up patterns,
Oh, that's true.
even if we're not consciously aware of it.
Subconscious.
Subconsciously, yeah. So when we speak, even if we make mistakes, our brains are still absorbing the correct forms and structures.
So it's like our subconscious is doing the grammar work for us.
It's working in the background.
Even when we're busy just trying to communicate.
Exactly. It's amazing.
That's actually quite reassuring.
It is reassuring.
It takes the pressure off a bit.
It does.
And it highlights a really crucial point. The more we speak, even if it's imperfect,
Yeah, just get out there and speak.
the faster we'll learn and improve.
Exactly.
It's all about getting over that fear of making mistakes and just diving in.
Just dive in. Yeah.
That makes a lot of sense. And it ties back to what we were discussing earlier about native speakers not always being grammatically perfect.
Right. Like if they can do it,
Right.
we can do it.
Maybe it's those mistakes that actually help us learn and grow.
Maybe so.
Now remember, those 3 key skills that the text says are even more important than grammar for achieving fluency.
Oh, yes. Those are good ones.
This is where things get really interesting.
This is the good stuff.
Remind us what they are.
Okay, so first up, pronunciation and intonation.
Okay.
Even if your grammar isn't perfect,
Oh, yeah.
if you can pronounce words clearly and use natural rhythm and stress,
Okay.
you'll be much easier to understand.
So it's not just about the words themselves.
No,
It's how you say them.
how you say them, yeah.
It's like the music of the language.
It is. It's like the music of the
The
language.
flow, the intonation.
Exactly.
Okay, what's the next one?
Next, we have listening skills.
Okay.
So the more you expose yourself to native speakers,
Right.
the more your brain internalizes those natural grammar patterns and rhythms
So even without me consciously studying the grammar,
without you even realizing it.
my brain is picking it up.
It's picking it up just through listening.
Okay.
Like osmosis.
Like osmosis.
Yeah.
I like that.
Just absorb it.
And then the final one.
And finally, we come to the most important ingredient of all confidence.
Oh, yes. Confidence is key.
Confidence is key.
In so many areas of life.
So many areas of life,
But especially language learning.
especially language learning.
Because if you're confident,
Yes.
people are going to be more forgiving
Yes.
of any little mistakes.
Exactly. And they're going to focus on your message.
On what you're trying to say.
Exactly.
Rather than, picking apart your grammar.
Exactly.
And the text argues that confident speakers are perceived as more fluent,
More fluent,
even if they make the occasional grammar slip up.
even if it's not perfect.
It's about owning your voice and expressing yourself without that fear of judgment.
Yes, just put yourself out there.
So it sounds like grammar is important,
it is important.
but it's not the only thing that matters.
Not the only thing.
Right. Pronunciation, listening skills, and confidence
Yes.
are all crucial pieces of the fluency puzzle.
They're all part of the equation.
And maybe, just maybe, letting go of that fear of making mistakes is the key to unlocking true fluency.
I think you're onto something.
All right, so we've explored this idea that grammar doesn't have to be this huge, scary monster,
Right?
lurking in the shadows of language learning.
It's not the boogeyman.
It's not the boogeyman. We've even exposed some of those grammar crimes that native speakers commit.
They're out there.
They're out there.
Breaking the rule.
Breaking all the rules, proving that nobody's perfect.
That's right. Nobody's perfect.
But now let's bring it all home for our listener.
Okay.
If they're walking away from this deep dive with just a few key takeaways,
Right.
what would they be?
I think the most important message is don't let grammar hold you back.
Yeah.
If you're so worried about making mistakes that you're avoiding speaking,
Right.
you're not doing yourself any favors.
You're not going to get anywhere.
You're not going to get anywhere. And remember Anna,
Oh, yeah. Anna.
who was not afraid to just speak.
Just go for it.
Just go for it.
That's the energy we want.
That's the energy. We
Yeah.
want to channel that.
It's like that saying you can't learn to swim by standing on the edge of the pool.
Exactly. You got to jump in.
You got to jump in,
Get wet.
even if it means splashing around a little bit at first.
You're going to make mistakes.
You are.
But that's how you learn.
That's how you learn. And the text really emphasizes that, embracing imperfection is a crucial part of the process.
It's all part of it.
Okay, so embrace imperfection. That's takeaway number one. But I'm guessing there are still times when grammar matters.
Oh, absolutely.
Right.
There are definitely situations where grammatical accuracy is really important.
Okay, like what?
Like if you're writing a formal report for work
Oh.
or applying for a job,
You want to make sure your grammar's on point.
you want to make sure everything's correct.
So it's not about throwing all the rules out the window.
No.
It's about knowing when to prioritize them.
When to prioritize and when to loosen up a little bit.
Okay, so finding that balance
Finding that balance.
between accuracy and fluency.
Yes.
And I'm guessing that's something that develops over time.
It
The
doesn't.
more you practice,
The more you practice, the better you get.
the more you expose yourself to the language.
Exactly.
But I think it's encouraging to know that even native speakers don't always get it right.
They don't.
It kind of takes the pressure off a bit, don't you think?
Absolutely it does.
Like it makes it feel more attainable.
More attainable, yeah.
Like, okay, if they can make mistakes, I can make mistakes.
We're all human.
We are.
And it highlights that language is a living, breathing thing.
It is.
It's constantly evolving, and even the rules are subject to change.
So, okay, embrace imperfection, know when to prioritize accuracy.
Yeah.
What else should our listener keep in mind as they continue on their language learning journey?
Remember those foundational grammar elements we talked about? Basic word order, common tenses, prepositions?
The building blocks.
Building blocks, make those your top priority.
Okay.
Once you have those in place,
The foundation.
the foundation, then you can start to add more complex structure.
It's like building a house.
It is like building a house.
You need a solid foundation
You need that solid foundation.
before you can add the roof and all the fancy decorations.
Exactly.
Master the essentials first.
Yes.
And then expand from there.
And don't forget about those other essential ingredients for fluency, pronunciation, listening skills, and above all, confidence.
Right. Because those can make a bigger difference than you might think.
Absolutely, they can.
It's like putting on a great outfit.
Okay.
The clothes themselves are important,
Yeah,
but it's the confidence with which you wear them that really makes you shine.
I love that analogy.
So it's not just about what you know.
No,
It's how you carry yourself,
it's how you present yourself.
how you present yourself.
Exactly.
And I think that's a great note to end on.
I think so too.
Language learning is a journey,
It is a journey,
not a destination.
not a destination.
Enjoy the ride,
Yeah.
embrace the challenges, and never stop exploring.
Beautifully said.
And to our listener out there, we hope this deep dive has given you a fresh perspective on the role of grammar in language learning.
Yeah.
Remember, it's a tool to help you communicate, not a barrier to hold you back.
And if this conversation has sparked any thoughts or questions for you, we'd love to hear them.
Yeah, drop us a comment.
Drop us a comment.
Share your own experiences and insights.
We love to hear from you.
Thanks for joining us on this deep dive into the world of grammar and fluency.
It's been fun.
Until next time, keep those language fires burning.